My dear friends, welcome back. So this is a new video for chapter number 7, and we have until now completed up to chapter 6 of this NCERT Our Environment, class 7. So in this video we are going to complete the entire chapter in a single video, and this video will not be of too much length. Okay, so this chapter is with regard to a new type of geography, that is human geography. So this is something we will be dealing in this chapter. We will start with human environment, the settlement that we have, the types of settlement we have, and the factors that determine the settlements. Then we have to study about transportation, communication, and these things we have to study in this chapter. So without wasting any time, let's start our discussion today. So this chapter starts with a topic called settlement. Now what is this settlement? So obviously you know what is settlement. Any place where people dwell upon, where people live, that is called settlement. Now this settlement are of two types. Basically we have a permanent type of settlement in which you build houses and you live for generations. For example, you might be living in the same house in which your grandfathers or your grandparents have lived, and still this house will be there for your even grandchildren. Okay, so this is a type of permanent settlement which you do not in which you do not move here and there. Okay, you have a permanent fixed place to live, and that is called permanent settlement. Basically you will find this type of settlements in plain areas, and also you will find in mountainous areas also. We have both types of permanent and this temporary type of settlement in that depends on geography as well. So when it comes to permanent settlement, you are already aware of the situation. You are all already know what actually this means. But when it comes to temporary type of settlement, few of us are known few of us known you few of us actually know what actually this temporary settlement is. So this is type of settlement in which people do not have a permanent type of residence. They move from one place to another. Okay, that is migration takes place very frequently. So for example, we have nomads, people who do not have a permanent place to live. So what actually happens, they move along with their cattle, their livestock along with them, and this type of settlement is called temporary settlement. So what will you write here? This is a temporary type of settlement in which migration takes place very frequently. Okay, migration occurs in this type of settlement very frequently, and you will find that nomads, these are the people who will be traveling here and there with their livestock. So they have livestock, which is basically the prime source of income for them, and with their livestock they move from place to place selling the products of the livestock. For example, if they have sheep, they will sell wool, they will sell milk, and even they will sell meat, of course. So these are the type of exchange that take place, and their primary source of income is these livestock. So they get grains, food grains, clothes, etc., in lieu of in exchange of the items, the animal products they provide. Okay, so one important type of temporary settlement, an important type of characteristic that you have to study is transhumance. What is this transhumance? Transhumance is basically a type of migration in which, not to say migration, this is a type of seasonal migration. This is a type of seasonal migration in which in a particular season people will reside in a particular place, and as this season ends they will move to their original place. For example, in India you will find some tribals. For example, you have Gaddi tribes. Okay, you have Gurjars tribe, you have Gurjars who actually are transhumans. What they do is they actually live in Himalayan regions. So what will happen, if suppose there is, this is plain area and this is the mountainous area. Okay, so this is the mountainous area. What will happen, they have the livestock with them. So when summer season comes, they will move on to the mountainous regions, the grasslands that they have in the mountainous regions. In the summer season they will live here, and as soon as the winter season arrives, the cold, the temperature falls down up to a very significant amount, so they move along with their livestock into the plain grasslands. So in this way they switch their uh, location seasonally. That is why they are called transhumans. So transhuman is not a peculiar phenomena which is only observed in India. It is observed across the globe. In different continents you will have this activity taking place, this type of settlement taking place. In India you have to remember few tribes. For example, you have this Gaddi tribes, Gurjar tribes, which which are seen to be practicing this transhumans. Okay, now you have to study what are the factors that affect settlement. So there are many factors that affect the settlement that we choose. For example, we can have geographical factors. For example, if you have a very very favorable type of climate to live, many you will see that population density in those areas are very high. If you have harsh type of climatic conditions, very few people will survive there. For example, in desert area you will find that many very few people live there. And in you will see in plain area, particularly in Gangetic plain area, you will see that a large population density is there. Cities like Varanasi, Patna, Kanpur, these are the places where we will find maximum amount of people there. Okay, so this is the geographical factor. So in favorable climate you will find large number of people living there. In harsh climatic conditions you will find low number of people. For example, in tropical regions you will find maximum population around the globe. But if you will go to the Siberian area of Russia, or for example the Canada, you will find that there are few people living there. Then you have economic factors. Economic factors, when I say, it means that people will prefer to live in those areas where there are large number of economic opportunities, where there are large number of jobs, employment opportunities, large number of factories there. So people usually prefer those areas. For example, you will see that the rate of urbanization in India is increasing. uh, in every census that we have seen a upward trajectory in the urbanization in India, and across the globe also. You will see that there has been a significant amount of urbanization across the globe, particularly after the industrial revolution. So this is the economic factor. Then you also have some socio-cultural factors. What does it mean when I say socio-cultural factors? There are some cities which are not, like, they are not geographically very important, they are not very economically significant, but still a large number of people live there. Why is that? This is because these areas hold some cultural values. For example, places like Varanasi in India, you will find that a large number of pilgrims will visit here. So similarly you have some other places also, for example Haridwar. These are the places which are known for their cultural significance and not for very good climatic conditions or very huge economic opportunities there. Then you have also some political factors that play a significant role in determining the settlement of people. For example, the city capitals, the state capitals, for example, the Delhi, the capital of India, Bangalore, the capital of Karnataka, Mumbai, the capital of Maharashtra. These are the places where you will find that most of the people try to accommodate there. This is because of the reason that they are politically very important. You will find judiciary there, you will find Supreme Court in Delhi, you will find High Court in Delhi, you will find Parliament in Delhi, you will find all the executive offices there. So that is why people prefer to live in those areas where large amount of political power concentrates. This is applicable for all state capitals as well as the capital of our India. This is also applicable across the globe. You will see that the capitals of the countries are more populated in comparison to other cities. So this is political factor. In addition to this, there are much more also. There are factors which are also play important role in determining the settlement of an area. For example, if you will see some natural calamities, a place which is most prone to like landslides or earthquakes, these are the area where people will not avoid living there, avoid settling there. So these are the factors Primarily you have to remember four factors: geographical, economic factors, socio-economic, cultural factors, and political factors. Now what is transportation? This is a very important concept you have to understand. Transportation means peoples and goods. This is a way through which peoples and goods are moved from one place to another, so this is called transportation. Now what are these means through which transportation occurs? There are various means through which people and goods can be moved from one place to another. For example, you have road transportation, you have like railways transportation, you have the airways, you have the waterways. These are the popular means of transportation. So when it comes to roadways, there are two types of roads: unmetalled means kacha, unmetalled means kacha type of roads, in which there is no pitching of roads. Okay, so basically we'll find this type of roads in rural areas, right? And then you have metal roads. Metal roads means there has been concretization that has taken place. Okay, the concretization of road has taken place. And when we call metal roads, we have basically in India primarily two types of road: national highways, state highways. In addition to that, you can also write district roads that are there. Then you have also some rural roads that is also there. So primarily two types of roads we have: national highways. So primarily we have district roads which are dominant. National highways comprises of less than 4% of total road networks in India. So this is the situation that we have. Now the very significance of roadway is that it provides end-to-end connectivity. What does it mean by saying end-to-end connectivity? There are many houses, which are located just beside the roads. So what will happen? The people who are living in these houses, they will step down from their houses and they will catch up the buses or the train or the taxi or anything they want, and they can go to exactly that place where they want to go. But in case of other means of transportation, you will have to cover some extra distance to travel. For example, in railways, what will happen? You have to go railway station, and every people have to come to these railway stations. And now when train will start from here, it will go to another railway station, and from there you have to go any other area. So that is not an end-to-end connectivity. You have to take support of like taxis and other things for railways, although railways are cheaper than roadways. uh, the reason being that railways provide bulkier amount of uh, railways have the capability to move bulkier amount of goods and passengers from one place to another place. If you compare a bus and a train, what will happen? A train can move 1000 or even more people from one place to another place in just one time, okay, in just one journey. But when it comes to buses, how many people? 40 to 50 people. So that is the amount that that makes difference between roadways and railways. So comparatively, railways are cheaper for transportation, and roadways are much like they are something that can be called costlier than railways. When it comes to railways, India has the fifth largest railway network in entire world, and it is after USA has the largest railway network in the world. Then you have the Russia, which has the longest railways in the world, and that is called Trans-Siberian Railway. Now this Trans-Siberian Railway runs from St. Petersburg, which is in Europe. St. Petersburg is in Europe, the European part of Russia, and then it comes to Vladivostok, which is in the Pacific Ocean, means very close on the bank of Pacific Ocean. This is Vladivostok. So this is the easternmost part of Asia, and this is the westernmost part of you will say this is in Europe. So trans means something which is beyond. So beyond Siberia, this trains runs very vast amount of distance. It covers from St. Petersburg, which is in Europe, to the easternmost part of Asia. So that is a huge distance. That is why it is called longest. Waterways, when it comes to, it is the cheapest. Why? Because you do not have to make roads. You do not have to make tracks or any such type of infrastructure development. You do not have to do in a significant way. That is why cheaper. Also the most environment friendly, they are the most environment friendly means of transportation. Okay, and when it comes to waterways, there are two types of waterways that is there. One is the inland waterways and one is the oceanic waterways. In inland waterways, what happens is that the transportation is occurring within a country. Okay, for example, you have national waterway 1 on Ganga. So what will happen? The people can move from one place in UP to another place in Calcutta, that is Haldia. So that is something which is taking place here. So the movement of people and goods are taking place within the country. But when it comes to oceanic transport, from Mumbai you can go to Vladivostok, you can go to any European country, you can go to even America. So bulk of, when it comes to bulkier goods, these are the way of transportation that are preferred. Okay, now when it comes to airways, airways are the costliest. These are the costliest mode of transportation and not so environment friendly. Okay, not so environment friendly, but this can be said that this is the fastest mode of transportation. This is the fastest mode of transportation that we have up till now. Okay, airways. Now why is this airways so much costly? Because the fuel that is used in the airways are called aviation turbine fuel, ATF. Now this ATF alone consists of more than 50% of the cost that you have to pay for airways, airway ticket. So that is something which is ATF is not in much significant amount. That is why airways is much costlier than any other mode of transportation that we have. But of course this is the fastest mode of transportation. Now communication, this is another topic which you have to deal. Now again I will repeat myself that this chapter is not something which requires too much of conceptual understanding. Just go through the chapter and you will find that the entire chapter is very much easy to understand. So this is the communication. What is this communication? So the communication is the way to communicate your words, okay, your messages. It's a way to how you communicate with people. So this is called communication. Now in communication, there are various modes of communication. You can call a friend from phone, you can call a friend from telephone, mobile, etc, etc. But these are a type of one-to-one communication. Okay, but we have something which is called mass media. In mass media, what will happen that one person can communicate with large number of people simultaneously. For example, if our prime minister goes live on Doordarshan, he will be seen by lakhs and crores of people simultaneously. So what is happening? Our prime minister is delivering his message simultaneously to lakhs of people and crores of people. So this is a type of mass media. This can also occur through TV, this can occur through radio, right? This can occur also through newspapers. So these are type of mass communication. Now what the present scenario is dominated by satellite based communication. Now what is this satellite based communication? The internet services that are being provided are we are using Gmails, we are using mails, we are using internet services. These are very fast. The amount of communication and the rate of communication has increased manyfold. Okay, that is why we call that the whole globe is shrinking. What does it mean by when we say that the whole globe is shrinking? This means that the people have come much closer, not physically but virtually, that they do not have that much physical distance from one another. That is why we call the whole globe is shrinking. So this was the basic idea behind this chapter. Hope this video will be very much informative for you, very much helpful for you. This chapter doesn't demand too much of brainstorming. That is why I have moved very fast in this chapter, because you have other chapters in which you can concentrate more. Okay, so this was all about in this chapter. We will wind up here. Thanks for joining. Have a good day. Goodbye.